sun offers no negotiation. It hammers the cracked earth into a mosaic of ochre dust and shadowless stone. For 3 cycles of the moon, no rain has blessed this valley, a place the clan's oldest memories call home. No, the riverbed is a gravel-scarred wound, and the last of the mud holes is baked into a brittle crust. The air itself is a predator, a dry, searing breath that steals moisture from the skin and turns every inhalation to grit. This is the brutal, indifferent backdrop of prehistoric life. A constant negotiation with an ancient earth that gives and takes with equal ferocity. The scattered acacia trees stand like skeletons, their thorns offering the only defense against a world turning to powder. The wind whispers, but it carries no scent of water or prey, only the fine dust of their slow starvation. They move as a single, weary organism, a small band of archaic Homo sapiens, their long limbs and high-domed skulls marking them as a people on the cusp of a profound cognitive dawn, yet still utterly yoked to the rhythms of a dying land. The lead hunter, his face a mask of dried sweat and concern, scans a horizon that offers only shimmering heat. Behind him, a young mother shifts the weight of a fretful infant in a leather sling, her own lips cracked and bleeding. The old matriarch, her skin a map of every drought and every feast this land has ever offered, leans heavily on a fire-hardened spear, her eyes cloudy but still sharp, still searching. They are a fragile chain of 30 souls, and every link is straining. The decision was made without sound, a collective understanding that flowed through the group like a cold current. Stay, and become one with the dust. Burn, and chase the ghost of a cloud. They chose to walk, abandoning the rock shelter that held the bones of their human ancestors, a sacrifice that feels like a tearing of the soul. The Exodus is a study in quiet desperation. Each step is a calculation of energy spent versus distance gained. They follow the memory of a path, a route passed down through gesture and guttural intonation, leading toward the high plains where it is remembered, the rains are born. But memory is a fragile guide in a changed world. The landmarks are distorted by the haze. The familiar game trails are no empty. The only signs of the great herd's old tracks, baked hard into the clay, mocking them with the ghost of plenty. Their journey into the unknown is a testament to the survival skills honed over millennia, yet every instinct screams that this time is different. The sun is not merely angry, it is waging a war of attrition. They pass the sun-bleached remains of Pleistocene megafauna, a giant long-horned buffalo, its ribcage a hollow cathedral of bone. It is a grim omen, a reminder that even the titans of this world can be broken by thirst. It is within this theater of ancient history that their own story unfolds. It is the lead hunter who finds it, stumbling over a low rise. His foot strikes something hard and smooth, half buried in the ochre sun. He grunts, kicking at it, expecting stone, but what emerges is bone, impossibly large, flat, and curved like a shield thrown down by a god. The others gather, their exhaustion momentarily forgotten. It is the scapula, the shoulder blade, of that same colossal buffalo species, its surface vast, pale canvas weathered by countless seasons. It is heavy, cumbersome, a useless weight for a people who measure survival in ounces. A younger male nudges it with his foot and turns away, his interest already fading back to the gnawing emptiness in his gut. But the matriarch shuffles forward. She runs a gnarled hand over its sun-warmed surface, her thumb tracing the high, bony ridge. There is a flicker in her clouded eyes, not of recognition, but of something deeper, an intuition. The bone is a burden, but it is also a presence, a silent witness to a time of abundance. With a shared glance at the lead hunter, a decision is made. He and another male hoist the great bone, its weight a new and unwelcome strain on their aching shoulders. They carry it onward, a piece of the dead past, unaware it is the seed of their future. Days bleed into a blur of heat and hunger. The bone is no longer a curiosity. It is a curse, a dead weight that slows their pace and saps what little strength remains. Resentment begins to fester, silent but palpable. Every stumble by the two males carrying it sends a jarring shock through the clan. A physical reminder of their seemingly foolish choice. It represents a past of plenty they can no longer access. Its smooth, white surface a mockery of the parched landscape. The matriarch, who seemed to sense some purpose in it, now walks with her head bowed, her own certainty eroded by the unrelenting sun. The journey is stripping them down to their most essential components. First, fear, and the fading instinct to put one foot in front of the other. This is the crucible of human evolution. A relentless environmental pressure that extinguishes the weak and forges the adaptable. They reach what should have been a landmark of hope, a shallow basin where the matriarch's memory insisted a spring-fed pool always survived the dry season. They find only baked mud, shattered into a pattern like sun-dried skin. A collective groan, too weak for outrage, escapes the clan. This is the deepest cut yet, the failure of memory. The one tool that has guided early humans for millennia feels like the final betrayal. The matriarch gestures vaguely toward a series of low hills, her hands trembling as she tries to describe an alternate route, a different memory of water, but her gestures are frantic, unclear. In the dust, she traces lines that the wind immediately erases. The knowledge is trapped inside her, fragmented by age and privation, and the clan has no way to hold it. To see it whole, despair, a far more dangerous predator than any saber-tooth, begins to stalk the edges of their small group.
Suspecting humans,
it is a young hunter, his face hollowed by thirst, who acts. He is not a leader, but a quiet observer, his mind always working behind dark, patient eyes. He watches the matriarch's futile gestures, sees the shared knowledge dissolving into the hot air. He looks at the useless bone, lying heavily in the dust. A connection sparks across a neural pathway that has never fired in quite this way before. An idea, alien and profound, takes root. He walks to his small bundle of possessions and retrieves a piece of flint, one of the sharp-edged flakes from his collection of ancient tools. The others watch, listless. As he approaches the great scapula, he kneels. For a moment, he simply rests his hand on its surface, feeling the stored heat of the sun. Then, with a deliberate motion, he presses the flint to the bone and scrapes. The sound is jarring, a dry rasp that cuts through the silence. He carves along, wavering line, the path they have just walked, the riverbed that gave them nothing. He looks up at the matriarch, his eyes urging her to understand. He points to the beginning of the line, then gestures back the way they came. He points to the end of the line, and then to the cracked basin at their feet. This is more than a scratch. It is the dawn of symbolic behavior. He is making the abstract tangible. The matriarch stares, her cloudy eyes widening slightly. A flicker of understanding. She raises a trembling arm and points not at the landscape, but at a spot on the bone, just past the end of his line. The young hunter looks at her, then at the flint in his hand. He carves a small, gouged circle where she pointed. The dry will, their shared failure, now given permanent form. A moment of profound, world-altering significance is passing here. A leaping cognitive mapping born not of leisure, but of desperation. The matriarch gestures again, a sweeping arc with her hand, indicating a turn. A different path through the hills she failed to describe before. The young hunter translates her gesture into a new, branching line on the bow. He adds a series of short, deep gashes to represent a treacherous rockfall she mimes. The clan gathers closer, their exhaustion momentarily forgotten. They are no longer looking at a burden. They are looking at their own minds, externalized. The bone has been transformed. It is now a shared memory, a tangible map of their struggle and their hope. A piece of primitive technology more important than any spear. The sun begins to set, casting long shadows that fill the fresh white lines. And for the first time in days, the clan is united not just in suffering, but in a fragile, focused purpose. The bone is now the heart of the clan. It is no longer carried with resentment, but with a focused reverence. Before they move each morning, they gather around the scapula where it lies on the cool sand. The young hunter, his authority now unspoken but absolute, traces the lines with an ochre-stained finger, reminding them of the path taken and the path to come. He points to the next turn, the ridge they must climb, the long, shadowless basin they must cross. This is a new ritual, a new form of communication that bridges the gap between memory and intention. This shift in their foraging patterns, guided by a shared, external brain, marks a pivotal moment in the long, slow march of our own hominid history. They move with a renewed, if fragile, purpose. The journey takes its toll. The matriarch, the living source of the map, is fading. The knowledge she gave has cost her dearly, siphoning the last of her reserves. She stumbles more frequently, her breaths shallow and dragged. A hard choice emerges, unspoken but hanging in the searing air. Too slow for her is to risk the thirst of the many, especially the young. To abandon her is to sever the last link to the old ways. A cruelty their social bonds may not survive. The clan halts. The matriarch sinks to the ground, unable to rise. There is no debate, only a heavy silence. The young hunter approaches her. He looks from her frail form to the bone, a direct line of cause and effect. He owes his new status, and the clan its new hope, to the memories she clawed from the depths of her mind. In an act of profound altruism, he gently lifts her. Her weight is almost nothing. A bundle of sinew and bone, he shifts her onto his back, his muscles straining, and nods to the others. They move on, slow and ill, but whole. They are betting their existence on a ghost of a memory made solid. They follow a scratch on a bone into a landscape that offers no promises. Finally, the map leads them to the mouth of a deep, shadowy ravine, a place the sun cannot fully touch. A primal fear of what lurks in the dark holds them at the entrance. The air is different here. It is cool, heavy with the scent of damp stone and decay. It is the lead hunter who pushes forward, spear ready. He vanishes into the gloom. The clan waits, a tableau of suspended animation. Seconds stretch into an eternity. Then, a sound, not the cry of a predator or the clang of a spear, but a soft, rhythmic clink, clink, clink. He emerges, his face wet, and gestures for them to follow. Inside the ravine, a sheer rock face weeps. It is not a spring, not a pool, but a slow, constant seep of water, dripping from the stone into a shallow, gravel-filled hollow. It is life, it is still. There is no wild rush. They approach with a quiet awe, each taking their turn to press their lips to the wet rock, to skip the precious, gritty water in cupped hands. The mother soaks a piece of hide and lets the infant suckle, its fretful cries finally silent. The young hunter gently lowers the matriarch and brings water to her lips. She drinks, the long, slow draught, her eyes, tear for a moment, find his. She touches his hand, then gestures weakly toward the bone he has laid on the ground. She runs a single finger over the lines he carved, then her hand falls still. Her journey, and her purpose, is complete. As evening falls, they do not bury her. They lay her to rest at the base of the weeping rock, and place the great scapula beside her. The map has become her monument, their first piece of material culture, their first archive. Now guards the keeper of the memories that gave it meaning. The survivors, a small clan of Homo sapiens, huddle in the cool darkness, their thirst quenched, listening to the steady drip of water, the sound of their own future. From this single act of desperation in a sun-scorched valley, a new world is born. The bone is more than a map. It is the first story told outside the fleeting confines of a mortal mind. It is the moment memory learns to outlive the brain that created it. This is the bedrock of civilization, the critical leap from instinct to institution. The lines scratched onto that scapula are the direct ancestors of every law book, every blueprint, every sacred text, every digital archive that defines our modern world. They are the first whisper of an idea that will one day build cities and send us to the stars. The radical notion that knowledge can be stored, shared, and passed down, becoming a foundation upon which future generations can build. The same instinct that drove a young hunter to translate his elder's fading memory into a permanent intricate compels us to build monuments, to write histories, to photograph our children. It is the uniquely human hunger to make a mark, to tell the future who we were. It asks us, as inheritors of this profound legacy, a simple, terrifying question. What will we choose to carve onto the bones of our own time? I am the chronicler. We bear witness not to the dawn of man, but to the endless, uncertain morning of humanity. But what happens when the first map leads not to water, but to roar?